this party started!
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amidst chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome...
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Hello and welcome to the program, my friends. It is great to have you with us today as we get into the thick of it as far as news and the things that are happening all across our great land. If you are unfamiliar with the program, of course, we endeavor to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, our culture, and our media. That is what we do here, and so we are going to get into all of it today. You know, a lot of my settings have just, in an odd way, changed, and I didn't change anything. So anyway, bear with us as we make some adjustments on some of this. There we go. All right, you can help us out by hitting the thumbs up in the whatever platform you happen to be watching on. Looks like I must have gotten a software update that is totally messing with all kinds of things here. But nonetheless, hit the thumbs up. Give us a heart the post if you are watching on X, and repost, and make sure you follow me on X at Ike Wingate. Okay, if you're not following me, you want to make sure you are doing that. Now, the things that we're going to talk about today. It's the economy, stupid. I'm not insulting anybody. That goes back to the old James Carville line that that's what people care about, the economy, right? And so there's this narrative out there that somehow, President Trump is responsible for the state of the economy. And people say, well, he's had, 11 months. Well, you may recall the price of eggs was out of control, and President Trump's team, Brooke Rollins, etc., are the ones that brought those prices down in the first few weeks of the second Trump administration. That's just one example. Gas prices are the lowest point in 4 years. So there are things coming down. Do we want it to be more? Yes, but make no mistake, the cause for things going up is not President Trump, not his administration. Now, critics will say, well, what about tariffs? Look, you know that the tariffs are about evening the playing field, okay? And a lot of prices haven't been affected by tariffs. And when you look at the percentage of tariff, it's on the cost of goods, not the retail price. So if it's a $20 item and the tariff on it is, 30%, well, that's what the retail price is, $20. The actual wholesale cost may be like $8, and you're looking at 30% going up on that. You're talking about $2. So $10 then is what it costs. Do you think maybe they'll still sell it for $20? Even if they don't, they sell it for $22. Price has gone up a little bit, but not 30%. So you see how that works. So a lot of this is just manufactured after or part of the elections in New Jersey and Virginia a few weeks ago, and the mayoral race in New York City, where they made it all about affordability. And so what's happened is the Democrats have keyed in on, this is a winning message. We must just hope that people have a short memory and think that President Trump is the one to blame for all this. What's interesting is none of us are happy about paying more on anything. So they have a little bit of an emotional advantage, but we're talking about Democrat races where Democrats were supposed to win, as Chris Rock would say. So it isn't like this is a message that's resonating, all across the country. People are fatigued and frustrated, but that's because we've endured 4 years of it prior to President Trump. And so while there are some prices coming down and there are other prices that need to come down, a big part of this is just simply the conversation, talking about it. for most of the first part of the Trump 2.0 administration, we've been talking about deals all over the world that are coming back to this country, tariffs, etc. And then, a lot of peacekeeping endeavors that President Trump has been involved in. So a lot of the news cycles have been dominated by Russia and Ukraine and the conflict in the Middle East and Iran. And then, you have all these foreign investments coming into our country and narco boats and the border and ICE. There hasn't been a whole lot of conversation about any of the other things. That doesn't mean, as far as the economy goes, that doesn't mean there aren't things happening that are positive in that realm. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but so much of this is just simply about the conversation. I mean, when you hear that it's record spending on Black Friday by 9%, record spending on Cyber Monday by 7% year over year, you hear those things and you go, okay, things are going pretty well. You hear more stories like that because all the oxygen has been taken up by all this other news, because President Trump has been moving at lightning speed, doesn't rest, works all the time. And so I think it's just a sort of byproduct of the news cycles being eaten up by everything else going on. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But so much of it is the conversation and not hearing about it. You hear about the news from an economic standpoint in a positive way. Now, economists and, people trading and doing a lot of investing, I mean, they're keyed in on it. And they continue to be bullish on where things are going based on, inflation rates and, where the stock market keeps going. But for the average person that may not be keyed in on those factors, it's just more about feelings. It's not about facts. And so that is changing, though. President Trump, who has criticized Republicans for not talking about the wins. Now, if you're going to be critical, you could say, well, he's acting like prices have already come down on everything. Well, some prices have come down. I will show you what I had to say about it earlier today, doing some media hits. Anyway, that's part of what we're talking about. We got an update on the Epstein files. This conversation about birthright citizenship. We'll go over the facts about what birthright citizenship originally was intended for, and then the aid package for farmers that was announced this week. Marjorie Taylor Greene goes out on media, and boy, she's in the same camp to me as like a Candace Owens. They are stuck in their own head, and I think there's a lot of narcissism going on, and they've just gone crazier and crazier. We'll talk about that. Plus, what are the laws around these narco boats and whether or not they could be taken out? And then an odd fetish has been brought to light regarding the January 6th pipe bomber. What is with these people doing these weird things and their weird fetishes? I mean, we're continually seeing this same profile emerge. Loner, online, into weird stuff. That's coming up in the second segment. And then later, an Obama DEA official has been indicted. LGBTQ may be dead in Hollywood. Ilhan Omar and her incest. Nick Fuentes and his manufactured rise. Plus, Florida has deemed the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization, and Hakeem Jeffries continues to block a bill to block insider trading. He apparently wants insider trading. And of course, our triggered liberal today is Rosie O'Donnell. Okay, so all that and more coming up. Again, help us out in the algorithm. Heart the post and repost on X. Give us a thumbs up on all the other platforms, but please share this episode right now. Bree has reposted it on Rumble. Thank you, Bree. We also want to say welcome into our friends now syndicating our program on Right Side Broadcasting. Make sure you're following RSBN on X and your other social media platforms as well. So Susie Wiles, the White House chief of staff, recently announced, and this is on RSBnetwork.com, Right Side Broadcasting, posting that the White House chief of staff, Susie Wiles, plans to put President Trump on the ballot for GOP 2026 midterm blowout. What does that mean? Obviously, he's not able to run again, even though Democrats freak out about anyone talking about that. But essentially saying that President Trump is a turnout machine. He turns out the vote, and you need to get your best spokesperson out there in the public eye as often as possible. And so you're about to see a new blitz coming with President Trump out there speaking, riling up the base, touting the economic wins as he's in Pennsylvania recently, doing the same. And so you are going to see things as far as a feel goes really start to turn over the last 30 days with some of those elections. And I would argue somewhat of a PSYOP liberal agenda as far as media goes, saying how everyone's upset with Trump or why didn't Trump do this? Why didn't Trump do that? When you look at his approvals, and they're better than Obama and Biden at this point. And that's been the case. Don't buy into it. People are still very happy with President Trump, but he is going to get out there and do what he does best, which is get face to face with the American people. But during this interview on The Mom View, Susie Wiles spoke about her role in the Trump administration and its future going into next year, saying that 2026, of course, has a lot of big events, big year next year. We're talking about the Olympics. We're talking about the FIFA World Cup, the nation's 250th birthday, and a lot more, a lot of exciting things that are coming. And President Trump will be visiting cities all across the nation as we look ahead to the 2026 midterms. Now, my question here is, are they going to follow through? Trump floated out the idea of a Republican National Convention. You don't have to have one, right? Typically, you wouldn't unless it's a presidential election year, but it does serve to get people excited and to put on a show before the midterms, and I hope President Trump does it. But Susie Wiles saying she is going to put Trump out there on the road. So we continue to talk about this affordability word, affordability, right? Where did that come from? I mean, it really came on the scene, surrounding Mamdani's platform, in the mayoral race of New York City. We talked about that this morning on Newsmax. Here's how it went. Okay, and I still feel that way hours later, right? And so, so much of it is about feelings. I mean, so much of the stock market is about feelings. You think that sounds crazy, but it is reality. Consumer confidence, investor confidence is largely based on news. oh, well, this is going to have, it's a lot of fear. Oh no, the numbers weren't as good as we thought. Oh, we're going to back off, just back and forth the entire time. I'm hearing that there's no sound. Okay, I'm getting sound on Rumble. So Bree, I don't know what's going on there, but everyone else seems to have sound. Oh, maybe there was no sound on that clip. Okay, well, that is interesting. This happened once before. You guys remember that? After this update, so I will have to do some configuring on exactly what is going on, right? So interesting. Browser not supported. Okay. All right. Well, this is new. Gotta love it. I don't know why they gotta change stuff on me. This is no problem. This is no worries, my friends. We will get it. We will get it, no problem. All right, so I'm going to switch to a different browser and hope that it works. But we'll have to do this a little janky here for a little bit. Now, let's talk about the gas prices. Okay? And CNN, is surprised. A little bit surprised. Let me know if the audio works from this clip, but they're surprised about these gas prices. Take a look. Okay. So a fresh 4.5 year low, on average, we're talking $2.95 a gallon. Did you hear the audio on that? Let me know in the chat. And still no sound. Wonderful. Well, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. This is what happens when they change stuff. Okay? Let's see. I would have thought that would have worked. I'm not sure why it won't, but that is not ideal. Okay. No sound on the video. Okay, well that's fine. Or I'll just have to tell you what they're saying here as we continue to go through the details of the economy and everything that's going on with the economy in a Trump 2.0. Mostly Penny says that gas is $3.80 a gallon up there in the Northeast in Oregon. Yeah, I mean, but we've seen clips of people actually having under $3, under $2 a gallon, actually. So just wait. This is a ripple effect, a domino effect, and it eventually gets to you in some form eventually. And so gas prices affect so many other things. I mean, they transport everything, right? Everything you buy at the store typically is transported there using fuel. And so it will affect the items where the price fluctuates. Okay, so some food prices, some household goods, and so just hang tight because better days are coming from a pricing standpoint. And just think about this. I mean, the gas prices are a reflection of inflation. It's another form of inflation on us. And so by those coming down, but the question is, why couldn't Biden do this? Gas prices haven't been this low in 4.5 years, basically since Trump was in there. And he just didn't have the will. Now, President Trump has said gas prices are going to continue to come down. The reason why they're not further lowered is because they are trying to restock the strategic oil reserve that was nearly completely depleted under the Biden administration. He did this around the election and other key points in his presidency to try to manipulate people into thinking, oh, he's doing something about gas prices. Well, he didn't. But it's no secret. It's no coincidence that when President Trump is in office, the things and policies that he enacts help drive the price of gas and oil down. It's when you have the right strategy, you can make these things happen. And either it was incompetence or complacency or, being complicit in the whole ruse that didn't happen under the Biden administration. All right. Before I get to the Epstein thing, just back to the economy. What I would say to you is the best is yet to come. There are too many things that have happened that are going to set the stage for a great economy in 2026. Okay? You've got the tax cuts. You got the manufacturing coming back to the U.S. and foreign investment. We can get a rate cut that will really ignite things. I've been saying that for some time. It will. And obviously you have fuel prices going lower. President Trump knows how to create a robust economy. He did it during the first term. And let me tell you, there's no other president that I would trust more to create a healthy economy than Donald J. Trump. And you can hate him all you want, but 2019, the third year of his term, was a great year. It was a great year economically. 2018 was a good year. But it just got better and better and better the more time that his policies were allowed to cook and bake into into reality, that things improved. There was one other point I was going to make on this, but I don't remember what it was. It popped in my head and then it popped out. So that being said, hold on. Just hold on. It took a lot to unravel the Biden mess. It was a hot freaking pile of garbage economically. I mean, he pumped all kinds of artificial subsidies into our economy with the help of Congress. The Inflation Reduction Act, which all it did was create more inflation. And then the extra stimulus checks he sent were not needed. They drove inflation crazy. The Fed was way too slow to react. And so it took a while to unravel that. But I mean, we're not even a full year into Trump's presidency, and he's already, made incredible strides against all of that. And I thought it would be a year. I thought we would have more pain this year. And so far we haven't. I thought we would have more pain with the restructuring of the tariffs and having to unwind all the bull crap that Biden inflicted on us. And it takes time, but it hasn't gotten anywhere close to as bad as I thought it would, because I thought it would have to get really bad before it would get better. And then you have the things that kick in 26, and I think we're going to be just fine, and it's ahead of schedule in my mind. All right, the Epstein files. New York federal judge has unsealed the Ghislaine Maxwell grand jury docs to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Pam Bondi got that done this week. The ruling from Paul Engelmeyer stems from a request to release the files from the Department of Justice. They've been unsealed with the grand jury materials as well as other documents in relation to the prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell. And the Trump administration is pushing to release more documents. I mean, Trump has said, yeah, get them all out there. I'm tired of hearing about it, and let's move on. Asked about why he was resistant, he said, well, or allegedly, according to Marjorie Taylor Greene, it was going to hurt people. You know, she went on 60 Minutes, and my gosh, I mean, she didn't answer the questions. She didn't give good reasons. And I'm not sure what this woman is angling at. But nonetheless, they have moved to release more of these Epstein files. You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about, Mike Johnson wasn't getting enough done or whatever. And women, she says, I think we got this clip. Women were diminished during, from Mike Johnson and maybe from Trump. I don't know. Could it be that you're just crazy, and whether you're a man, woman, or dog, you would be treated the same when you act crazy? I mean, you ever think about this? People say, oh, they don't like me, or they're discriminating against me, or they're mean to me, or they don't respect me. And they always revert back to some superficial reason like, oh, it's because I'm a woman, or it's because I'm fat, or it's because I'm black, or it's because I'm white, or it's because I'm Mexican, or it's because, I'm bald, or, I have big ears, or whatever it is. Sometimes it has nothing to do with that. And I would say most of the time it has nothing to do with that. It's actually your personality sucks and they don't want to deal with you. Or they treat everyone that way. How about that? They hold everyone to the same standard of, no, if you're going to bring that in here, it's got to be airtight. Otherwise, we're not going to do that. Oh, that's because I'm a woman. No, it's actually just because they do that to everybody. But yet you are trying to, play the oppressed victim. That seems like it's the case in Congress because you have other congresswomen that say that Mike Johnson's treated them super well. But you have a few others that are like, oh, this is a boys' club. I mean, most of the people in Congress are men, so I do understand that. But whether it's Thomas Massey or George Santos or somebody else, if somebody's acting crazy, they're not going to give them a platform. And those are men. So that could be part of what is going on there. Now, President Trump was asked about birthright citizenship in this interview with Politico. I know you can't hear the clip, but basically Trump says, that case was meant for the babies of slaves, okay? That case was not meant for some rich person coming into our country from another country, putting a foot on our country, and all of a sudden their whole family becomes United States citizens. It's not right, I tell you, okay? So the birthright citizenship issue related to the 14th Amendment, this goes back to the Reconstruction Amendments post-slavery, okay? Post-Civil War, to end slavery, give blacks the right to vote, and also make their children U.S. citizens. It was all done in those three amendments, all together at the same time, and the original author of that bill said it was about slaves. Okay, and specifically said it wasn't about foreigners just being able to come here and become citizens. I mean, to me, this is black and white. And in fact, if you want to know a history of this subject, I dug into this myself back in January regarding the birthright citizenship issue. It's on my Substack. You can watch a 4-minute video on it, or you can read the text. but I spell it out as far as the history of this amendment, what it was intended to do, and then the other side of the argument for people trying to support the idea that the 14th Amendment means anybody and everybody. They continually come back to this Supreme Court case from 1898 where the justices ruled in favor of a guy named Wong Kim Ark. He was going back and forth to China, and his citizenship came up to a case in the Supreme Court, and they ruled that he was a citizen. But the difference was Wong Kim Ark's parents were legal immigrants. Legal immigrants. The justices ruled in favor of Wong Kim Ark's U.S. citizenship, even though his parents were Chinese immigrants unable to naturalize. But the whole reason was they were legal immigrants. They were not illegal. So this has not been settled. And the Supreme Court is going to look at this and hopefully rule in the favor of sanity. Because, look, the implications of this are that anyone can land in the U.S. and pop out a baby and they automatically have a U.S. citizen on their hands. And so many of these people that are coming here and doing this are mooching off of the government through entitlement programs. Think about all the people that are not from this country that, in a lot of cases, hate our country. We are paying for them to just hang out. And even if they're working, we're still covering a ton of stuff for them. Why? Why are we the world's you-know-what? Why does the world have their way with us, any which way they want it, and take advantage of our hard-working American taxpayers? I mean, illegal immigrants or people that are trying to game the system. I mean, literally, you have these schemes where they bring a whole plane load of pregnant Chinese women over here, and they all give birth in the time they're here, and they automatically have citizens. That is absurd. No country would think that's a good idea. And we looked it up. And actually, I'll go back to this Substack report. By the way, if you want to read this report, go to ikereport.substack.com. But we looked this up. Only 28 countries out of the 195 in the world allow for birthright citizenship. And of those 28, most require at least one parent is a citizen of that country. Can you believe that? We are dummies when it compares to the rest of the countries on the planet. Nobody allows this typically. I mean, there might be 3 or 4 that do it like that, but most don't, because this is absurd. And so it needs to be ended. It needs to be ended yesterday. And so hopefully the Supreme Court will make the right decision. All right. Make sure you heart the post and repost if you're watching on X. Give us a thumbs up on whatever other platform you're watching on, and share this episode. Share it right now. Please share it. And make sure you follow me if you are on X. My username is Ike Wingate. It's on the bottom of your screen, bottom left. That is my X handle. Go there and follow me right now. I'm trying to see how many people will take action that are watching that will go and follow. Okay? Now, if you're new to this program, you've been watching on Right Side, I am just a normal, everyday guy, okay, that loves our country and wants to be part of the mission to spread the truth about what's going on out there and to shine a light on corruption. And that is what my mission is. I am a product of the media industry for a long time, and I have launched and founded and ran my own companies before. I sold a large advertising company in Nashville, and then made the pivot to say, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to be when I grow up? I've always wanted to be a voice of truth. And with my unique understanding of business and politics and drive and purpose for the truth, that's what came together with launching a podcast and then some video stuff. And eventually I became a contributor for the Newsmax News Network. And I'm continuing to try to grow my own content at the same time. But we are just getting started. And I'm going to continue to push and work hard and grow the following of people that are starved for truth. They're tired of being lied to. They want a reasonable person that they can trust, someone who will tell them if they mess up, is not going to gaslight them, and is going to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Certainly, I give my opinion on things, but I'm not going to lie to you. I am not going to do what is necessary to get clicks. I'm not going to do that. My integrity, my reputation is too important to me. If those kind of things matter to you, then hang around, follow me on X, and let's grow together. And of course, I'm always open for feedback, or if you have, some story or something out there that needs to be exposed, our inbox is open for that kind of thing. But we are just a bootstrap operation, self-funded, and covering the costs myself. Anything that doesn't get covered by our audience, I come out of pocket. I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on this endeavor out of my own pocket for 3 years, and I have not taken a dime home. I have been self-funding this off of savings because I believe in the mission. We're very close, I think, finally getting that next big step that's going to really break things wide open. And so you can say you were there. So many of you have been with us for years and have made this thing possible to continue. And I am eternally grateful. And we are always welcoming new people into Ike Nation. Bree has been here since the beginning and has helped us out so much, and tells the truth here in the chat, says you are far more than a normal everyday guy. Yeah, I shouldn't have said normal. Okay. That was misleading. I apologize. See, when I mislead, I will tell you, whether it's unintentional or intentional. I try not to intentionally mislead anyone because we have the receipts. We bring you the sources on what we're telling you here. And even though the media tells you people are souring on Trump, what's crazy is on this day in history, in the second term for the Trump, Obama, and Bush presidencies, Trump is polling higher than the both of them. 41.6 was Bush 2 W on this date in 2005. Obama was at 40.6 approval. Trump's better than both at 43.4, but you wouldn't know it if you subscribe to the liberal media's lies, okay? You wouldn't know it. Now, yesterday, before we take a break, I want to get to this story real quick. President Trump unleashed $12 billion for farmers, and I'm sure Democrats don't like it. And I generally don't like government handouts, okay? Understand that. The only time that I've been sort of okay with the government handout, even though I don't like what it caused as far as to our economy and to inflation eventually, was during COVID when, we were giving out money to people, but the government was the one who shut the government down. Or shut the, economy down, shut down small businesses. And so I believed they had a responsibility to allow businesses to recoup. Now, a bunch of people took advantage of it, and there was a bunch of fraud, and we're still seeing that, especially in Minnesota. But typically, I would say a government handout doesn't need to happen. Now, in the case for farmers, though, by the way, they've used this act to help farmers several times over the past several years. Reagan did it. Bush did it, Clinton did it, Biden did it, Obama did it, Trump did it in his first term. And it's typically set up when there is, some kind of disruptive event that is going on. And so they will subsidize some farmers. Now, the subsidy for farmers this time around is for farms grossing $900,000 a year or less. So you're not talking about the big conglomerate farms. You're talking about family farms, small family farms that are responsible for a lot of the food supply. And this market has been completely disrupted because of the tariffs with China. Specifically, China quit buying some of our key exports, specifically soybeans and others, as retaliation for the tariffs. So President Trump is saying farmers shouldn't have to bear the brunt of that retaliatory move, and I'm going to help them out with a subsidy, if you want to call it that, or whatever you want to call it, temporarily until things level out, because China has agreed to resume a large soybean purchase and other purchases beginning in February. So the exception here, I think, for farmers is a good idea. Farmers are getting killed by these conglomerates in a lot of ways who are monopolies. But then you have this disruptive event with the tariffs and the retaliation from China. And then it makes sense that the farmers are in a very unique, specific situation. And it just so happens that what they produce, sustains our lives. And so it's really critical. And so President Trump brought in some farmers yesterday to the White House to announce that gift to farmers, if you will. Okay. All right. So that's what that's about. You can agree or disagree. I'm fine to hear what you have to say in the chat. Let us know what you are thinking in the chat. Make sure you give us a thumbs up or a heart, depending on the platform you're watching on. If you would like to support this mission to bring you this content and help us cover our hard costs, you can do so with a Venmo or a Cash App contribution right now at IkeReport.com, Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. The links are set up so you know exactly what our Venmo is, exactly what our Cash App is, and that's what we have set up there at IkeReport.com, as well as all of my socials, and a link to my Substack where I talked about that Birthright citizenship case if you want to read that. So it's all there at IkeReport.com. We're going to take a quick break and come back with some news on Marjorie Taylor Greene and the Narco boats, plus the weird fetish from that January 6th pipe bomber. It's all coming up. You're watching the Ike Wingate Show.
Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. You know, one thing I was thinking about this morning is, when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50, 4-week emergency food kit, preparewithike.com. Fourscore and 7 years ago, there used to be men in this country. Now this country's full of a bunch of weenie men. You think about all the stuff that's in the water, plastics, microplastics. There's estrogen everywhere. In fact, compared to 100 years ago, men have half the testosterone that they used to. Look, it's not like getting shot in the back of the head. All you need to do is take chalk once every day, and you can boost your testosterone for fun things that require your energy, like working out or playing sports or actually spending time with your kids. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I'm dead. But if I were alive, I would take chalk. The Patriots said chalk combined the most powerful herbal extracts, so it's all natural, giving you that lift that you need. George, come spot me.
Well, Abe, if I too were alive, I'd gladly spot you.
It's time to boost your testosterone to levels not seen since 1776 or 1860 or 1864, whatever. But it's herbal. It's natural. It's made in the USA. It's been clinically studied to boost testosterone. We're talking about chalk. Okay? Stop being all weird with this trends and everything else. We didn't have that back in my day. We had real men. It's time to get boosted back to those levels when men were men and women were women and there wasn't anything in between. Right, Mary?
Yes, Lincoln.
That's right. Get chalk. IceWingate.com. Get chalk. If you want to be like me, get chalk. Except for the dead part. Okay. IceWingate.com.
Hey there! Tired of watching your subscription costs climb higher and higher? With Q Broadcast, you get more for less. All your favorite channels and content bundled into one unbeatable package. No contracts, no hidden fees, just simple, affordable streaming. Say goodbye to overpriced services and hello to a new era of entertainment. This is streaming the way it should be. Q Broadcast, this changes everything.
You can sign up for Q Streaming today at IkeWingate.com. Just click Get Q Streaming to start streaming tons of channels, video on demand, even pay-per-view, all for the same price. It's all included. This is a Christian conservative-owned company that does not hate your values. Stop giving money to the cabal of big tech. Support companies that support your values. Right now at IkeWingate.com, just click Get Q Streaming.
It's common sense amid the chaos. Now back to the Ike Wingate Show.
All right, welcome back, friends. The saga with Marjorie Taylor Greene continues, and we're having problems with playing audio out of the browser for whatever reason. I don't remember what we did to fix that. I'll have to go back and see, but Marjorie Taylor Greene went on CNN, called the president hateful and a bad leader, and she's essentially, trying to have revisionist history when she's been a crazy person out there calling people all kinds of names. And, she's there with CNN and talking. The president says she's not America and that she's a very dumb person. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene feels sorry for Trump. She called him hateful and spewing vitriol. He just wants to get some kind of that's wrong. That's wrong with America today. Toxic political environment. See, she was part of it, and now she never got dirty. She never got down in the mud. And I think this is just a convenient scapegoat for her after her popularity has continued to wane. They did polling about her involvement. They did polling about her involvement with the, potential for a Senate race. That didn't work. And in Georgia, and the governor race. And so basically she looked at the writing on the wall and said, oh, I'll never get reelected. And so, I think that's part of it. I think it's ridiculous for anybody in Congress to quit during the middle of their term unless they're about to die or someone in their immediate family is about to die. Otherwise, get your big girl panties on and get back in there and fight for your constituents. I mean, it's not only ridiculous and puts the majority at risk for the House, but it also costs your state a lot of money for a stupid special election. It's indefensible. It's indefensible. It's cowardice. And I don't know when this started, but the most recent beginning of it was when Kevin McCarthy walked away, right? And it's just unacceptable. And I have no sympathy for anything that Marjorie Taylor Greene has had to endure. Of course, we have Rand Paul as we pivot now to the narco terrorists. Okay, I'm going to play the clip and then I'll explain to you what it was. I know some of you can't hear it, but some of you can. So take a look at what he says is the reason they shouldn't be taking out these narco boats. So basically saying we can't blow up these boats because, it could be someone on vacation. Who vacations with 3 or 4 outboard motors on a speedboat full of barrels of drugs with 2 or 3 people that are absolutely fitting the profile of someone who's a member of one of the drug cartels? He also points out the example of, well, what happens when they make it to land and we're going to blow up their vehicle on U.S. soil? No, the difference is they are out on the water, basically in international territory. And so I think this is ridiculous. Oh, we're supposedly at war. They've been designated an international terrorist organization. These cartels have by the United States, by the president, which gives him latitude to take them out. There's also these JAG attorneys and people that are in the room clearing every single one of these attacks. It's all been preemptively scanned, cleared, screened, and okayed before it happens. Do you think these people are stupid? People are like, oh, we don't want people to accidentally, carry out an act that is against the law. It's not fair. And weirdos like Alyssa Slotkin is out there, saying, well, we were approached by so many people in the military that were so worried that, this was illegal. Bull crap. You were not. That's a lie. This is a manufactured hoax, manufactured outrage. They hate Pete Hegseth. They want him out of there. They hate President Trump. And they're just using this, and they're using our military from the standpoint of creating this media frenzy. But look, there's plenty of precedent for this, as far as other situations. And the law is on the side of our Secretary of War and our president. This guy chimes in, Greg Stube, who is a JAG, who actually deployed as an ops lawyer and chief of detainee operations in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, saying that the Geneva Conventions do not apply to drug traffickers, especially given that they've been designated by the president via executive order as a foreign terrorist organization. He says, look no further than page 450 of the DOD manual linked and cited in the article below. They don't qualify for protection. Okay. So this is on thehill.com. And he's talking about this manual, page 450. Let's see, department's own manual. Let's see if they'll give it to us. All right. We want to go to page 4. Okay, that's going to take a while. Page 450. What page are we on now? Oh, we went too far, friends. All right, so we'll go to... We'll just look at it. Why won't we? 450, section 732. Persons entitled to protection as wounded, sick, or shipwrecked. This is the Navy's own manual, right? Persons entitled to protection as wounded, sick, or shipwrecked under the GWS and GWSC. Members of the armed forces of a party to the conflict, as well as members of militias or volunteer corps forming part of such armed forces, members of other militias and members of other volunteer corps meeting conditions, members of regular armed forces who profess allegiance to a government or an authority not recognized by the detaining power, persons who are authorized to accompany the armed forces or members of the crews of the merchant marine and civil aircraft of the parties to the conflict. Okay, they don't say anything about narco terrorists having protection under this. And if you look further, when you look at sort of maritime law, Mike Netter spells it out that a boat in international waters that is not running a national flag is categorized in international law the same way that a pirate is. Arr! We take out these blarmy, these scallywag pirates, right? They have absolutely no national or international protections. You can't commit a war crime against them because they aren't flying any flag of any entity. A vessel in international waters, he says, is required under UNCLOS, UNCLOS, to sail under the flag of a specific nation. If it doesn't, it's legally considered a stateless vessel. Stateless vessel has no right to the protections normally afforded to ships under a national flag. Now, what's interesting is, people like Rand Paul want to act like these people are just out on the ocean, off the coast, skiing or tubing or something. No, these people are transporting long distances in very large, very fast boats with 2 or 3 people on them stacked with barrels of material. So there is no sovereign protection for these stateless vessels. Any state may stop, board, search, seize, or disable a stateless vessel. Article 110 in the UNCLOS, UNCLOS, authorizing border and seizures. So this is ridiculous. War crimes can only happen as well during an armed conflict. You can't commit a war crime outside of an armed conflict. Those only occur in the context of international humanitarian law. Enforcing maritime law against a stateless vessel is a law enforcement action, not an international humanitarian law situation. No war crime when there's no armed conflict. Lethal force may be used when a vessel refuses lawful orders. Okay? It's lawful if a vessel refuses boarding, attempts to flee, or poses a threat, or engages in illicit activities such as piracy or narcotics trafficking. So he goes on with a stack of information. If you want to see this, Mike Netter on X, Netter, or Netter Mike, lays out all of the specific parameters of the law and how it doesn't apply to these narco boats. And furthermore, I mean, since we don't have a law issue, you also don't have an issue of a majority of the people resistant to this policy. When you look at the Harvard-Harris poll done a couple days ago, 58% of Americans support using the U.S. military to target cartel drug smugglers in Latin America. 58%, and it's probably more than that because we know how these polls tend to skew liberal. So we're talking 60+% of Americans agree this is a good thing to do. The whole point here is to be a deterrent. And that's what Rand Paul doesn't seem to get. I like Rand Paul. I agree with him on a lot of things, not on this. The whole point is to be a deterrent, to stop it from happening, to stop it from continuing. That's why you have to make examples out of people and get it done. I went on Newsmax over the weekend and said, you know, Democrats defending, I mean, apart from Rand Paul, but Democrats defending drug smugglers, defending drug dealers. How do you buy that? How do you buy that they are defending the villains? If Democrats were more concerned about the fish ingesting the drugs after one of these boats is blown up, then at least that would be believable. They're worried about sharks swimming around with a bag of cocaine in their jaws. Then that would be more believable. This is not believable. Again, why do Democrats continue to defend the villains as if they are some unique oppressed category? They are not. They're predators preying on other people. I mean, you set this to the scene of a movie, the Democrats are out there defending the Joker, saying, oh, he is just a child entertainer. He's just a child entertainer, and Batman is trying to go after him. They're going to call him, just a Gotham children entertainer, right? I mean, Democrats would defend Freddy Krueger and Jason, all of the villains, and make them into some kind of oppressed person. You know, Freddy Krueger identifies as, a hand-challenged person or something like that, And they're oppressed, even though they're out killing people. This is the mentality, defending the villains. Because Democrats for so long have used this mechanism for creating an oppressed category because people are fallen creatures. And if you tell them they're a victim and there's an excuse for why their life hasn't turned out the way that they want it, then they're going to latch onto that. When you give people a reason to become a victim as an excuse, they latch onto it. Democrats have known that for several years now, and so they create these oppressed categories and make you feel good because, it's not your fault that your life sucks. somebody else's fault. It's probably a Republican's fault. It's probably a white man's fault. And so they create this victimhood mentality, this oppression, and that garners them votes and support because guess who's going to fix it? Me. I'm a Democrat. I'm going to fix all your problems, all these oppressors. We're going to make them go away. And so that's what they've made hay on for so long. And it's just like second nature to them. They can't even stop. And add to that President Trump, where he's winning on so many things, and they have to, because of their Trump derangement syndrome, just adopt the very opposite view of whatever President Trump says. And so he's driven them to defend the opposite point of view of common sense. They're defending insanity. And by way of defending insanity, they have to somehow draw this line to oppression for the insanity. Okay? They defend the insanity by drawing a line to some kind of oppression. Maryland dad, right? They defend not the young females in the locker room. No, they defend the guy walking around with his ding dong. They don't defend the rape victims and the murder victims. No, they defend the illegal immigrant. That's what they do. Because they have to take the opposite point of whatever Trump says. They don't care about what's right and wrong. They don't care about justice. They don't care about defending victims. They care about adopting the opposite view of whatever President Trump says. And the way that they are able to, in their mind, take that opposite point of view is try to create some kind of manufactured oppression scenario. The problem is they're trying to say that drug smugglers and rapists and murderers and weirdos going into locker rooms with girls are the oppressed and the victims. And that is just inconsistent with reality. And I don't understand, if you're on the side of Democrats, how you don't see this. This is a ruse. You don't have to like Trump. You don't have to like what he does, but you can't argue that everything he does is as terrible as Democrats make it out to be. And there are plenty of things that he does that years ago Democrats did and Democrats liked it. But when Trump does it, no, it's terrible. So it's not about what's right and wrong. It's not doing what's best for America. It's about just picking the opposite view of Trump. And so Democrats, if you're still supporting Democrats, how you don't see this means you are not paying attention. Your eyes are not open. You're just as deranged and deluded because Trump is such a terrible guy. Here's some therapy for anybody that's dealing with TDS. Ask your doctor about Trump Paxil. I don't know. Here's some therapy for you. Stop listening to what Trump says and watch what Trump does. Trump is a master at stirring the pot, getting people riled up, moving the Overton window, dominating the news cycle, and just being an all-around funny guy. If you hate Trump, even if he says something funny, you find it despicable. But if somebody else said it, you'd be like, that's pretty funny. That's called hatred. That's called bias. But how you can help yourself is stop listening to what Trump says so you can find something they said that you don't like, that you can latch onto and hate. Instead, start paying attention to his actions and remove his name from the action and say, is this good or bad for our country? If you do that, you will recognize that you have been a participant or a victim, depending on how you want to look at it, of Trump derangement syndrome and the assault that the liberal media and the Democrats have on Trump and the truth. Again, I'm not claiming that President Trump is a perfect person because there isn't one, except for Jesus Christ. I'm not claiming that everything he does is an A+. But he's a damn good president. And if you would take your bias and hatred out of it, stop listening to what he says. Okay? Don't fall into getting gaslit or riled up, because a lot of times he's messing with people. So just disregard what he says. look at what he does, look at his accomplishments, and when you read the accomplishment, take out Trump and put somebody else in you like, or just leave the name blank, and you will realize, oh, actually, he is doing a lot of good things for our country. There's plenty of things that Trump does that aren't conservative enough for me, but I recognize the work as a whole that President Trump has done, and it's fantastic. It's unmatched. It's at a pace you cannot compare with any other president. And when you are taking out the bad guys and you are ridding our country of people that hate our country and committing crimes against our people and taking up all the housing, and also nursing off the government teat at the expense of Americans, those are good things for Americans. No other country has this welfare state occupancy, no matter what hotel status from an immigration standpoint. Nobody else has that. It's utterly ridiculous. And President Trump is doing the right things for the American people. But if you can't see that he is doing some good, if you can't see that he's doing some good and you think that everything he does is bad, I'm sorry. You're biased. You are deceived. You're deranged. And you're not being honest. Because the amount of things that he has done to better America is undeniable. Let's talk about January 6th, a pipe bomber apprehended last week, and the suspect was said to be a Trump supporter, right? That's what the liberal media is saying. Oh, he thought that the 2020 election was stolen, and that's why he planted the bombs. Okay, well, either that story was planted, or this little guy, Brian Cole Jr., this little nerd who made these pipe bombs, lied because he is trying to take the attention off of liberal insanity and pin it to Trump. His family sued the Trump administration over immigration of illegal immigrants because they're trying to make money with their bail bonds business. But here's the other thing that doesn't add up if you think that this guy set these bombs because he was a Trump supporter and thought that the 2020 election was stolen. Why did he start buying bomb parts before the 2020 election? Was this guy like Nostradamus or something? He was predicting the future? I don't think so. It's because he had been planning it for some time, and his own family denied that he's a Trump supporter. It's another one of these weirdo dudes says he doesn't like either political party. I mean, that would actually add up from the standpoint of he planted one of these kitchen timer bombs, whether you want to call him a patsy or someone who was drawn in or whatever, but he at least was an equal opportunity bomber planting one at the RNC and DNC, so that at least aligns. But the grandmother denied a report that he's a President Trump fan. The reason why this guy was never caught is because he's black. If he was white, they would have caught him within 12 hours of this happening because they would have said the white supremacists, insurrectionists, were trying to blow these places up and we caught him. Well, no, it didn't match the profile, so they let it go. And without any new evidence whatsoever, they were able to solve the case. So it doesn't make any sense. So what does that mean? Well, according to the Gateway Pundit, Biden's FBI knew that this Brian Cole was the January 6th pipe bomber because in the investigation documents from 4 years ago, they had triangulated his cell phone signal to these two locations. And again, all the evidence was there because no new evidence has been considered. It was just new people looking at the evidence. So that means all the evidence was there. They were able to identify he was in both places because they had that same cell phone data, and they did nothing. And so again, my point of view is obviously it can't be proven at this point, but it certainly looks like, and my suspicion is because he didn't meet the profile, they buried this and said, oh, we've tried everything we can. And everyone was thinking, how is that possible? In the year 2020, with all these cameras and cell phone data and everything else, you can't find this guy? That seems pretty odd. Speaking of odd, though, as we go a little bit further into this guy, Brian Cole Jr.'s background, he had a secret online life, much like, the guy who killed Charlie Kirk and his gay furry lover, a secret online identity where he was obsessed over My Little Pony. He was a jabroni. Isn't that what they call him? A brony? Brian Cole Jr., who's 30 years old, seemingly obsessed with the toys for My Little Pony. Highly active as a My Little Pony fan. He was obsessed with the toys that were typically marketed for little girls, plastic ponies. He was obsessed with remixes of songs about them, and he was writing fan fiction dedicated to the freaking My Little Ponies. His work was spread across multiple social media accounts linked to his email address and phone number. And we're also hearing that his accounts were associated with some gay dating sites or whatever as well. That's been reported by some, but not widely reported or confirmed. But it's the same email address they've been able to tie to a lot of different things. So I don't know what's going on there. Seems like the guy was living a double life, very isolated, largely online, was into some odd things, was a loner, and potentially became radicalized, or at least found a safe haven for his radical views. I don't know. But we're seeing, again, these things seem to align. When someone gets drawn in to some of this alternative lifestyle type things, plus the online stuff, plus the loner stuff, their brain, something's going on, and wild, violent acts are somehow justified in their mind as a reasonable point of action for whatever's troubling them. The exact same thing we saw with Tyler Robinson regarding the Charlie Kirk assassination. So there are big harms with allowing your kids to just have unlimited screen time and be online all the time and not be around real people. And this sick ideology that's out there that's sort of preying on the depravity of people's minds and going weird places is toxic and cancerous to the brain and the emotions and the ability to reason. I think there's no question, because we continue to see a pattern. I mean, we continue to see a pattern in these shootings, these mass shootings, these school shootings. So many, as of the last few years, have largely been trans or non-binary or something of that sort. There is something mentally going on when it comes to teaching these ideologies and promoting them. And the result is crazy people. I mean, now we continue to have data again and again and again to back that up. So you tell me, how is it just harmless? Because we continue to see patterns again and again. Coming back with an Obama DEA official who's been invited. He's been indicted. And it seems on the streaming platforms in Hollywood, LGBTQ might be dead. Ilhan Omar's incest and Nick Fuentes and his manufactured rise. All that coming up.
Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. You know, one thing I was thinking about this morning is, when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50, 4-week emergency food kit. Preparewithike.com. Fourscore and 7 years ago, there used to be men in this country. Now this country's full of a bunch of weenie men. You think about all the stuff that's in the water, plastics, microplastics, there's estrogen everywhere. In fact, compared to 100 years ago, men have half the testosterone that they used to. Look, it's not like getting shot in the back of the head. All you need to do is take chalk once every day, and you can boost your testosterone for fun things that require your energy, like working out or playing sports or actually spending time with your kids. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I'm dead. But if I were alive, I would take chalk. The Patriots at Chalk combine the most powerful herbal extracts, so it's all natural, giving you that lift that you need. George, come spot me.
Well, Abe, if I too were alive, I'd gladly spot you.
It's time to boost your testosterone to levels not seen since 1776 or 1860 or 1864, whatever. But it's herbal. It's natural. It's made in the USA. It's been clinically studied to boost testosterone. We're talking about chalk. Okay? Stop being all weird with this trends and everything else. We didn't have that back in my day. We had real men. It's time to get boosted back to those levels when men were men and women were women and there wasn't anything in between. Right, Mary?
Yes, Lincoln.
That's right. Get chalk. IceWingate.com. Get chalk. If you want to be like me, get chalk. Except for the dead part. Okay. IceWingate.com.
Hey there! Tired of watching your subscription costs climb higher and higher? With Q Broadcast, you get more for less. All your favorite channels and content bundled into one unbeatable package. No contracts, no hidden fees, just simple, affordable streaming. Say goodbye to overpriced services and hello to a new era of entertainment. This is streaming the way it should be. Q Broadcast, this changes everything.
You can sign up for Q Streaming today at IkeWingate.com. Just click Get Q Streaming to start streaming tons of channels, video on demand, even pay-per-view, all for the same price. It's all included. This is a Christian conservative-owned company that does not hate your values. Stop giving money to the cabal of big tech. Support companies that support your values. Right now at IkeWingate.com, just click Get Q Streaming.
They want to silence us. But the truth is undefeated. Now back to the Ike Wingate Show.
All righty. Welcome back into the show. Some of your comments, I see them on multiple screens. They're buried, so I can't find them to show on the screen. But mostly Penny says, I'm surprised Hunter Biden isn't a little more outspoken about boats full of drugs being sunk. Yeah, you would think he would be pretty upset about that, right? Hunter Biden. Yeah, not liking that. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find any other good comments on YouTube. Let's see. And maybe over on X or Rumble. X, you can interact in the live chat as well, and we will see those comments if they're in the live chat, not if they are comments. So comment in the live chat if you are watching on X. All right, there's just so many. I can't can't weed through to actual good ones. Let's see here. So if you want to support what we're doing via Cash App or Venmo, you can do so right now at our website, IkeReport.com. Cash App or Venmo, $5, $10, $20 contribution. If you contribute, I will announce you on the screen, Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. Help us out in the algorithm by giving us a thumbs up and giving this post a heart the post, and repost if you're watching on X. Follow me on all the platforms. Subscribe to the audio podcast as well on wherever you get your podcasts. It's called The Ike Wingate Show. You can find the links to all my social profiles, to our Cash App or our Venmo, or to be able to subscribe to the podcast, all by going to IkeReport.com. Even my Substack is up there as well, IkeReport.com. Check it out. Jasmine Crockett, clearly seeing that she has no chance to win in the House with the redistricting there in Texas, and she is now running for the Senate. She, I would say, has pretty much no chance. But that doesn't stop her. I mean, she's a sound bite looking for a place to happen. Yeah, she says that abolishing taxes for just the black community is not a bad idea. She is dumb when Trump says low IQ, or she's playing dumb. But she's a terrible person. She's a terrible person. She called Governor Greg Abbott, who's in a wheelchair, Greg Abbott from Texas, she called him Governor Hot Wheels. She said that Elon had to go. And she, constantly calls Trump a fascist and a Nazi and things like that. So she also is just out there raising money because she's spent thousands and thousands of dollars on bougie hotels and transportation out of her campaign funds. She lives a very luxurious lifestyle at the expense of her donors. That's what she does. She uses that as campaign funds. Meanwhile, as we told you the other day, she owes back rent on her condo several months. So she's not paying her bills. Meanwhile, spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars at places like the Ritz and deeming it a campaign expense. She's a grifter, and she's basically a performer. That's all she is, Jasmine Crockett. So anyway, we'll be able to make fun of her for some time as she's running for that Senate race there in Texas. In case you missed it, an Obama DEA official has been indicted. So this dude was laundering money for the cartel, and he was a DEA official. I mean, you talk about mob mentality inside the Obama regime, the deep state scrambling after this official has been indicted, agreeing to launder $12 million. I'm so shocked, right? Color me unsurprised when it comes to this. All right, let's talk a little bit about LGBTQ plus IA.com. In the world of entertainment, Netflix has a new series out about coal miners, right? Coal miners. Completely normal. If historically coal miners were trans and gay. Yeah, by the way, they're trying to buy, Netflix is trying to buy Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes, Sesame Street. It's being opposed by a lot of people. But this Queen of Coal series, this is a movie. Queen of Coal movie is coming to Netflix December 19th. And the description is: a trans woman dreams of working the coal mines, but in a town steeped in superstition and patriarchy, Carlita, I'm guessing his real name is Carlos, must fight to earn her place underground. Yeah, completely relatable, completely believable that there's this dude that looks like a lady that wants to be a lady who also aspires to go deep into the coal mine. That's, Carlos's, a.k.a. Carlita's, dream. And stupid Netflix has made a movie out of it called Queen of Coal. This is just stupid. It's so dumb. It's insane. Truth be told. Don't you think? However, people are growing fatigued of this kind of bullcrap. The publication The Wrap has this story out with the headline: nearly half of all LGBTQ plus characters will disappear from TV next season, a GLAAD study finds. Subheadline says, due to series cancellations, 61% of trans characters will also be absent from TV. You want to know why? Because nobody wants to watch this trans crap. If you want to go do it on your own time and you're an adult and you're not asking for me to pay for it as a taxpayer, have at it. Trans it up. But I don't want to see you. I don't want to watch you. I don't want to listen to your commentary about something. And I'm not alone. I'm in the majority because people don't want to watch this stuff. People don't even want to watch gay stuff. In fact, you're watching a great show on Netflix you just found, or on, Prime or whatever. You're watching it and you're 20 minutes in and you're thinking, wow, I think I found my new series. I really like this. And then the next scene, two dudes kiss each other and it's all over. It's all over after that. Because it's like, why? Why did you have to do that? Why did you have to make it about that? That has nothing to do with anything regarding the storyline. You just wanted to get the gay stuff in there because you have an agenda, because you hate family values, you hate traditional marriage, you hate the very values that this country was founded on. My point here is, if you don't like American values are moral values, traditional values. Those are American values. That's how this country was founded. If you don't like those, then go to a country that was founded on the values you like. And by the way, if it's anything to do with trans or gay stuff, it won't be any Muslim countries, because they will kill you if you engage in that kind of stuff in a lot of these places. So my point of view is, let's stop with the conversation about the United States of America, accepts everybody no matter what. Well, no, that's not actually true, except for recently, because there's a Marxist agenda to dilute the biblical moral values that were responsible for the founding of this country, and instead want to say, you can't say what someone can or cannot do. Well, I'm not going to be controlling your life, but you can't say that the bedrock foundational laws of this country are wrong just because you disagree with them. I didn't create this country. Other people did, based on biblical values at the state level especially, but certainly enshrined in the Constitution, that our inalienable rights come from a creator, God Almighty. That is specific to the Bible. I didn't create that. I didn't create the Bible. I didn't set up the country. I just happened to be born in the greatest country. And this is what this country is about. And we need to quit acquiescing and diluting and bending over backwards to change the fabric and bedrock and foundation of this country, so it makes other people not feel bad because they're different. Well, that's what this country's about. And if you don't like it, go to another country. But these are the foundational principles: traditional marriage, all men created equal, thou shalt not murder. That's what this country was built on. That's, and the acknowledgement of the rights coming from our Creator. That's what this country was built on. That's why it's been exceptional. Because it's unique in that way, and it's uniquely exceptional and successful. And that's a big, big part of it. And so why do we want to diminish it? Why do we want to get away from that? Now, you can believe whatever you want to believe. But don't come or don't inject your anti-biblical worldview onto this country as to how it should be run. Because that just means you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is the flavor of this place. This is what this country does. This is why this country has been successful. I'm sorry you don't like it, but that isn't a reason for it to change. You can believe whatever you want, but we should expect people to accept that the United States of America was founded upon the rights from God. And that's how we are going to govern, that those rights come from Him, and the sense of right and wrong is going to come from Him. You don't have to like it. As long as you adhere to the laws, you'll be fine here. But the minute you try to unravel and diminish and water down and change what this place is about, that's where we have a problem. And I think I'm in the majority. I think people are tired of the riffraff. They're tired of being told that they're bigots because they don't want to watch trans people on TV, or that we're homophobes or transphobes or whatever phobe is out there. We don't want to watch that. And up until 2 minutes ago, that was a reasonable point of view, but the loudest people in the minority have tried to sway and the tail wag the dog. Well, as you can see, the pendulum has moved back in a lot of ways because people don't watch these shows no matter how much money they put into it. And that's why 61% of these trans characters have been canceled, because people don't want to watch trannies on TV. They don't want to watch it. Sorry, not sorry. If you want to have a special trans channel, then do it. Whatever. Good luck with the funding. But inserting these woke storylines to try to indoctrinate when it has nothing to do with the storyline, we see you. We see right through what you're doing. And clearly it's not working from a financial standpoint. I would love to just get a quick peek at the all these woke people are going crazy. I love it. Yeah. Now, people say, well, you don't have to watch it. You could do something else. That's true. That's true. I can. But that's not what they want you to do. They want to lure you into the storyline to get you watching it, and then they drop in their agenda items from this woke ideology and hope, well, you already like the storyline, so maybe you'll stay. And then the more you're exposed to this, the more normal it becomes to you. And, maybe, you can accept it. That's called indoctrination, fool. That's what that is. They are basically running a Trojan horse manipulation tactic on you to make you buy in to their ideology when, guess what? None of this lifestyle stuff has anything to do with the plot. That's how you know it's inserted to indoctrinate. So it isn't about, oh, you can just change the channel. No, it's about stop indoctrinating people with a specific agenda rather than entertaining them. That's the point. But people are just going to continue opting out of this stuff, and that's what's going to happen. The marketplace is going to rid this stuff out because people are tired of it. And that's the thing. No one likes it except for people that are engaged in that lifestyle. And you can be straight and totally gay friendly or trans friendly, but I will bet you money 99.99999% of people that say they're gay friendly and trans friendly don't want to watch it as part of their shows. Mark me. That is reality because, oh, I'm totally gay friendly, but you don't want to see it. That's the truth of it. People are only so LGBTQIA friendly so much as they don't have to be exposed to it. I don't know anyone who is like, oh, yeah, I'm cool with trans people or gay people. But then when it comes on TV and two dudes are kissing, they're not like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I love it. That looks good. No, they're not. So then you say, how gay friendly are they? Because they don't want to see it, but they're supposed to be trans friendly, gay friendly, but they don't want to see it. But yet these people keep putting it into our programming to try to program us. That's what's happening. So I shouldn't have to change the channel. They should recognize people don't want to see it, and it has nothing to do with the storyline, and then therefore they should stop it. Now, if you go back to this trans coal miner story, that movie is all about trans. And I would never click on play to watch that. So I'm never going to get in that situation because they're completely upfront about it. Let me tell you, no one's going to watch that crap. But they're completely upfront about it, and so I can completely avoid it. But that's not how they normally operate. They normally go stealth and embed it, and then they surprise you with the gay scene. That's what they do. All right, I'm off of this. Ilhan Omar, according to the Daily Mail, did marry her brother. She's a mother, a brother was her. She's a brother was her. She married her brother, said she would do what she had to do to keep him in the country legally, reveals a Somali community leader to the Daily Mail. Ilhan Omar told friends years ago that the man who went on to become her second husband was in fact her brother. You're my brother. You're my sister. You're my sister. According to Daily Mail. Abdi Hakim Osman is the first person to go on record to speak of how Omar said she wanted to get her brother papers so he could stay in the U.S. She said she needed to get papers for her brother to go to school. We all thought she was getting papers to allow him to stay in the country. She married her second husband, Elmi, her brother, allegedly, in 2009 by a Christian minister, although she is Muslim. That's odd. So again, so now we have somebody on the record saying that is her, in fact, her brother. And that, my friends, that should be illegal. And I believe it is. Yeah. Let me check. It is. It's illegal to marry your brother to break immigration law. Right? So we'll see where that goes. The chief of police in Washington, D.C., the lady who couldn't remember or actually never knew, didn't understand the phrase chain of command. Well, She has resigned amid an investigation into manipulating homicide data. Again, another one of the things that the left-wing media, the Democrats told us wasn't happening. No. We're not manipulating. Yes, they were manipulating statistics to appear more favorable. That investigation is happening, and she resigned. Chain of command, what's that? All right, other quick stories. A black man was acquitted after stabbing a white man in Portland. After the white man said the N-word, the jury basically said, well, he was justified in stabbing the guy. And this is when a jury of your peers can be a problem, right? Just because the guy, and I'm not defending it, but he said a word, a freaking word. I don't care what the word is. A word doesn't justify someone being stabbed. Apparently the jury thinks so, and they let the guy off. I mean, this justified. Called him the N-word, you get stabbed. That's absurd. But people are indoctrinated to think, there's so much racism out here. All right, let's talk about Nick Fuentes, this little twerp. He went on with, now I will say there are some things that Nick Fuentes apparently doesn't believe that people say he believes, but he believes plenty of nasty stuff. I think he's a stain. If you can call him on the right, I would just call him he's bonkers, this little turd who knows nothing about nothing. But Piers Morgan asked him, have you ever actually been with a So basically, he believes that women should stay home and they shouldn't have the right to vote. Piers Morgan calls him a misogynist, an old dinosaur. And Fuentes says he's annoyed with women. They're really hard to be around, but he's not gay. He is attracted to women, I guess. So he asked him if he's ever been with a woman, and he says no. Now, here's what I would say. The conversation got a little weird with Piers Morgan in some ways. But Nick Fuentes, you have no credibility about women. You've never even been with a woman. You have no idea the, unique and special attributes that women have that are a complement to men, and they are better together, not separate. But you can't speak on that. Now, I get it. There's, plenty of women, plenty of men that are young, old, all ages that are insufferable and intolerable. I understand that, but that's the way it's always going to be. And I understand, if you have a traditional view of how you want your family to be, it's probably tougher to find that these days. So I understand where you're coming from there, but you can't diminish all women when you don't even know jack about women, pal. And that's kind of the theme I see with Fuentes, is he has an opinion on stuff that he doesn't actually have experience or knowledge about. He's an uninformed yapper on a lot of these subjects, although he is an intelligent guy, but he, in a lot of ways, has no idea what he's talking about. And he shouldn't be taken seriously, and he shouldn't be platformed, and he's irrelevant. And at some point, the young men who are watching him will realize that watching him and following him and doing as he does will not lead you to happiness. It will only lead you to jaded, curmudgeon, anger, and just a sad existence. At some point, there will be attrition in that regard. And now we have this report out there about Nick Fuentes, and apparently a lot of his following on social media and the reaction to his posts has largely come from bot farms. That's the report. His rise is because, he's being retweeted and promoted and, has reaction online from these bot accounts in foreign countries. And when you look at his level of engagement as far as the time from a tweet or post to a certain level of engagement, it's like unprecedented. Even for like Elon Musk, who has 100 times as many followers. So it seems that Nick Fuentes and his rise has been quite manufactured. Couple other quick points. Florida's designating the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations as foreign terrorist organizations. It's about time. Let's see what happens at the national level. Alina Habba says Hakeem Jeffries is blocking a stock trade ban in Congress. Look at his portfolio. He's likely getting rich. And Rosie O'Donnell, she continues to be triggered by President Trump. She moved to a different country. It's gotten so bad, her TDS. Her therapist told her to detach from Trump for 2 days, and it only lasted a couple hours. This is hilarious that, one, we find out about this, but two, her therapist is telling her, like, you got to get away from Trump for a couple days. She can't go a couple hours. She's addicted to it.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
Maybe because this other person is an adult and doesn't define happiness and value based on politics. Ever think about that?
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
Just find it hilarious. She couldn't go a couple hours without watching Trump or being engaged with Trump. She might have a crush on Trump. It's like this, jilted lover kind of scenario that she has going on. Some kind of syndrome or something, right? Anyway. All right. Check us out at IkeReport.com. IkeReport.com. You can support the show if you want to help us cover our costs via Cash App or Venmo. IkeReport.com. As well as all my social media handles. And, of course, make sure you share this broadcast. And then follow me on X to keep up with me during in between shows to find out when shows are going on. Follow me on X at Ike Wingate. And hopefully we'll have the audio issues figured out for some of you for the next show. Thanks for hanging with me. Thanks for bearing with us. Appreciate the actual adult conversations going on in the chat and the real constructive comments. And, of course, all of your support. Thanks for watching. Until next time, remember, it's not time to back down. It's time to double down because the truth is always worth it.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to The Ike Wingate Show.